When my mom and dad passed away in the same year, I was very young, maybe around 7. I felt like crying for them because I loved them so much. But when I went near their box, I wasn't alone. My dad left a lot of money behind. Some people didn't like him. People talked about a paper that says who gets what when someone dies. My dad mentioned one family member who hadn't visited us in a long time. He didn't know why he was upset with us. This family member was my uncle. He was nice but had a problem with gambling. I found papers where he promised to pay money back but didn't. I went to the box. I thought I'd cry a lot. My home felt empty without my parents. Someone held my hand and said, "I Orgu. It's okay to cry for those who won't come back." It was him, my uncle with the papers. But when I should have cried, I saw him and others and I felt shy. I couldn't cry even though I was sad. It's hard to be shy when you're sad. Do you understand how shy I am? It's tricky. You, readers, are different from me. I was so shy and good that even when I turned 21, I didn't want to leave my other uncle, who was like me and my mom, to take care of me. It's funny. Why would I lie to you? I don't ask you questions, and you don't ask me. So why lie? But I didn't fully explain why I didn't ask about my childhood money and why I stayed in that bright white house with its pretty balcony, big stairs, and flowery pillars. Did I like the house? Yep. Did I love my uncle who looked after my money? Yep. Was I too shy to ask about my money when I turned 21 because I trusted him? Yep. Was there anything else keeping me there? If you looked at me funny, I'd blush and say, yep. Even now, with lots of white hair, I'd confess like a guilty kid. No, it's not just the house and uncle I liked. There was someone else. Besides my cousin and uncle, my aunt died. The house and a fluffy dog. There was somebody else. This somebody can change a bad person, impress a shy one, turn business people into poets, and shake up professors, blowing away their rules like spider webs. Yep, this charming somebody made me stay under control even after I got 15,000 Romanian lei when I turned 21. You've probably figured out my secret by now. Oh, women, they don't care if you're shy or smart. No innocence or smarts can resist a light step and sparkling, warm eyes that can melt even the coldest heart. Wasn't Irinel the same girl I played with as a kid? The same wild kid with short dresses and green socks by evening? The same little devil who tossed her books and begged for piggyback rides? The little girl grew up into a woman, and instead of the soft, innocent eyes that I got lost in, there were now two mischievous flames that showed me life in all its pleasures and feelings. Now Irinel would hold my hand. She was 15 now, and her hand felt different, warmer, softer, but I didn't know why. She wasn't as cheerful as before. She didn't talk as much or as fast. When I asked her, "Irinel, do you think it'll rain today?" Or, "Irinel, are you excited for our trip to Slanik in 2 weeks?" She'd stay quiet, staring ahead, like she didn't see anything. Trees, houses, and sky vanished like mist. Her silence worried me. I whispered to her, feeling guilty somehow, "Irinel, you just got back from school. Are you already bored?" She suddenly got overly cheerful, laughing and telling half-finished stories, mostly about school life. "You won't believe it," she said loudly. "My friend showed me this letter. Only I read it, and another girl and her sister, and maybe a few others. I nearly burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that tears streamed down her cheeks. Then, between laughs, she said, "He wrote about stars, saying they burned and talked to him. How can stars burn? Are they coal bits? And how can they talk? I don't get it." Then he talked about ice, thawing, marble, a fiery bed, a monastery, suicide. Poor Marie. I felt bad for her. Really? We hugged and cried together. You see, Iorga, we didn't keep secrets. Every Monday, she'd read me a letter with tear marks, and after I stopped myself from laughing at those burning, talking stars, I had to cry, and I did, from my heart. Poor thing. After her laughter and almost crying, she noticed I was quiet, and she asked me sarcastically, "Iorga, do you think it'll rain today?" These things happened early in the morning. Sundays were tough for me. Irinel acted differently all day. She sewed or played piano instead of hanging out with me in the yard. I felt really upset all day, like a shy person dealing with those talking stars. For 3 years, my weekdays were full of brave dreams, but Sundays were scary and sad. I had big plans, but I kept them secret, like only shy and innocent people can. In the last year, after a trip to Slonik, I decided. The day she went back to school, we barely kissed. They were cold kisses. We didn't even look at each other. I stared at the sofa, feeling like I kissed the hard material instead of her soft cheeks. I made up my mind, and it was a brave decision. To get courage, I planned out what I'd say next Sunday. I didn't sleep that night. In the dark, I imagined the garden, Irinel, and our talk. The roosters crowed. I was lying down, eyes closed, feeling brave from my imaginary talk. "Irinel, wanna walk in the garden?" "No, thanks. We must go. It's important." She knew I wanted to say something big. My bravery impressed her. The roosters crowed again. It was midnight. It was stormy outside. Lightning flashed through my curtains. "Irinel, you have to come. It's a beautiful day. I saved some grapes for you all week." "No, thanks. You have to come. I need to tell you something." "What?" Irinel looked at me. I couldn't handle her bright gaze. I looked away, but then I felt brave. I lifted my head and said firmly, "You have to come." I'd never ordered anyone like that before. It was really dark and raining outside. I turned to the wall and closed my eyes. But inside, I felt strong. I told her again, "You have to come." I held her hand, feeling nervous. I finally said what I'd wanted to say for 2 years. "Irinel, I love you. Do you love me? Why are you quiet? Why won't you look at me? Should I leave the house where I've watched you grow up, or stay?" We hugged and kissed. It was done. Wow, love makes men brave. I got chills thinking this scene hadn't happened yet. I hid under my blanket, scared of being so brave. As it got light, I fell asleep, practicing. "Irinel, wanna walk?" "No, thanks. We have to go." The next day, I woke up late. My uncle asked kindly, "Iorga, are you okay? You slept late today." Feeling guilty, I mumbled, a book." I stayed up late. My ears burned. like I'd touched a hot stove. The veranda felt shaky. I thought about my uncle. He was a good man. But how would he feel about me marrying Irenelle, his daughter? Why was he staring at me like that? He understood and judged me without speaking. I could almost hear his thoughts. I didn't think you'd turn my daughter's head like this. What would your mom say? Why didn't he look away? Did he see something else? I don't know if I did something bad, but his stare felt like a harsh judgment. He seemed like a giant, a wall between me and Irenelle. I felt like he thought, what a bad kid. Old ways are disappearing with the old people. I felt like hiding under my chair. My uncle said, Iorgu, you haven't had coffee. Are you okay? His words felt gentle, but I knew what he meant. It's tough when a good person is disappointed in you. Why do people get punished? Punishment is for doing wrong. I almost wished my uncle would punish me. Instead, he gave me coffee and rolls. It was agonizing. He must have seen us walking quietly together, not happily like before. He probably knew why Irenelle stayed home some Sundays. Maybe he heard me calling Irenelle's name in my dreams. What would my uncle think if his daughter married his sister's son? It'd need special permission. Would it make him a laughingstock in his old age, all because of a whim from a boy he raised? Irenelle and I were like siblings, not just cousins. But church laws made it impossible. All week, I couldn't stop thinking, it's impossible. Why didn't I see that earlier? On Saturday, my uncle and Irenelle arrived in our old carriage. Watching them, I thought, it's impossible. Irenelle came to me, happy. We kissed, but it felt empty. What's wrong, Iorgu? You look sick, she said. Before I could answer, my uncle said, Iorgu seems sick but won't admit it. You don't know what's wrong, uncle? You think I'm sick and won't tell you? You're a good man, but such a hypocrite. He thinks I don't get it. I gently said to Irenelle, I'm okay. But are you? This went on for almost a year. Feeling down. I won't tell you I got thinner and paler, that I shivered often, or that I pretended to cough around Irenelle. You've seen thin, sickly guys in stories who either kill themselves or jump into the sea. So if I told you I got thinner, played billiards, started drinking, even drank 3 bottles in a row once, you'd probably just yawn. There's nothing special about a nervous person feeling love and sadness. Who'd want to be with someone who suffers quietly? I stayed silent from one holiday to another. What's wrong with you? Nothing. Are you sick?
No.
Finally, the big day came. Irenelle finished school on June 20th. That day, she asked my uncle where we were going for vacation and then came to my room. I was reading a book about law and history on my bed. When I saw her, I stood up. She spun around, her dress like a big flower. Then she stopped in front of me, laughing and clapping. She curtsied and lifted her skirt a bit, asking, Can you guess where we're going this summer? No, Irenelle, I said, coughing, which had become a habit. What will you give me if I tell you? After twirling around again, she asked, Will you kiss my hand politely if I tell you? Yes, Irenelle. I kissed her hand sadly but happily. And now this one. And that one, Irenelle. To Mehadia. Won't it be nice? I'm tired of Slanik. She ran around so fast that her skirt rode up above her knees. I blushed, she blushed, then she laughed and jumped on me. We'll dance and I'll sing. I'll be the leader, she said. Then I heard my uncle calling her, Irenelle, Irenelle, where are you? She vanished in a flash. I lay on my bed, holding the book but not reading. I thought about Irenelle. The first Irenelle was quick and sharp. The second one was gentler, almost loving. He probably wanted to calm her down, fool me. But why ask, where are you? The way he said, where, showed what he really meant. He didn't have anything to say to her, but he wanted to know if she was with me. It was humiliating for me, an orphan he raised and controlled. With a word or look, he could show me what happens to ungrateful kids who disrespect old folks and our country's customs. His question was clear as day. Did he really not know where she was? An orphan shouldn't fall in love. I don't remember what else I thought. Irenelle came back into the room. It's sad to see happiness at the door and know it won't come in. Irenelle came in, but my happiness stayed outside. I realized my uncle sent her back to trick me, and she didn't suspect anything. Do you know what Father just told me? A guest is coming for St. Peter's Festival. A big merchant. What did that mean? Did he say anything else? Just that we need to get ready. The guest is a big shot, an old deputy, and someone important. After teasing me and laughing because I coughed, like the girls at school did to get medicine, Irenelle left. Ugh, good thing he's old. Imagine if he was young. On St. Peter's Day, I was so nervous I jumped at every sound. Haven't old men been known to marry young girls? For 3 hours, I wandered around, waiting anxiously for this rival. Am I fooling myself? Waiting for him felt just like waiting for Irenelle. I wanted to see him, just for a moment, to know who he was. At 10 o'clock, a carriage arrived. Someone stepped out. When I saw him, I laughed. He was very frail, very old. He looked smart in his black coat and red tie. I greeted him respectfully, almost kindly, then quietly went to the garden. The beautiful garden seemed sad and empty, mirroring my heart. Everything felt indifferent. The garden gate opened quickly, like the wind pushed it. Irenelle appeared. She looked around and flew towards me. Her dress fluttered in the breeze. She was pale and took my hand, trembling. She tried to speak but stopped, saying, "Wait, let me catch my breath." Then she looked at me. Her eyes were intense. They seemed like a deep, endless ocean in a storm. I looked away, scared and overwhelmed. I thought about my boots. Had they cleaned them today? They must have. They clean them every day, right? Iorgo, do you know why that old man's here? No, I said calmly, feeling stupid. Had they cleaned my boots? Maybe the grass was still dewy. Iorgo, do you know what Father told me?
No.
He said, put on your favorite dress. But do you know why? Of course, I said. She trembled. I replied as I wiped dust off my boot. Of course I know. Isn't today a big celebration? Oh, she said, pulling her hand away. You don't get it. You're so clueless and indifferent. Clueless? I understood everything from her look and emotion. With fake calmness, I dusted the other boot. The old man's here, Irenelle, I started. She turned pale, her lip trembling, eyes darkening. The old man's here, Irenel. So what? He's having dinner with us? Great. More people at the table. Was it me talking? It was just us in the garden. The old man's here. Oh, she cried, covering her eyes. The old man's here, and someone's leaving this house. Irenel started crying. What about him? He has a son, an engineer. Engineer? He studied engineering? Yes, he did. Irenel snapped, wiping her tears. Yes, he studied engineering, and someone's leaving. I watched her go inside, wiping her tears. Then I lay under a tree. Nature was lively. Apple trees bent, sparrows chirped, and sunlight touched my face. Tears fell, and I stood up. Somebody's leaving, I said sadly, looking towards the house. The next day, I showed my uncle a fake doctor's note, saying I needed to go to Borbul for a lung problem. I won't dwell on this. I kissed my uncle's hand in Irenel's. Irenel. As the train crossed the border, I wondered, what if she hadn't looked at me like that? What if she asked what I wanted to say? Such shyness is madness. How could I have convinced my uncle? Wasn't Irenel like my sister? No, it's impossible. It's impossible. The train whistled, and a few tears fell. Looking back at the country, I waved inside, Goodbye, Irenel.